Hey guys, Movie Junkie for Life here again, and this is going to be my review of Annabelle Creation. Directed by David Sandberg, who gave us last year's sleeper hit Lights Out. Annabelle Creation is a prequel to a prequel of Annabelle and tells the story of a doll maker, his wife and his daughter, and after they suffer tragedy, he invites some orphan girls and a nun to live at their home. And of course nothing is as it seems, and there's some really weird shit going on, and this is how Annabelle becomes Annabelle. So let's get into it. Now, Annabelle Creation, I was really happy when I heard David Sandberg was involved because I loved what he did with Lights Out. I originally found him on YouTube, his short horror flicks. The man can make a lot of tension and a lot of suspense and a lot of horror in a very short space of time. So imagine what he can do with a full-length movie. And Annabelle itself was a bit of a dud to most people. While it was well polished, it looked really good, it wasn't that scary. So I wanted to see what he could do with Annabelle Creation. And for the most, Annabelle Creation is a solid horror flick. Now, the things I like about it, of course, was the look of the film. It definitely feels like it fits into the era that it's shot in. It's well directed. The lighting in this movie is excellent. You know, there's a lot of dark spaces, even in scenes where a room is lit. You know, it's like, let's say lights are on. There are very dark spaces where, you know, there's just blackness, and it makes you uneasy because you feel like there's something there. And the actors involved, these young actresses, and one actor, one male lead we get in Anthony LaPaglia, I believe that's how you pronounce his name. He's always a solid addition. He doesn't really do a lot here, but what he has to do, he does it well. The young actresses here, the ones that really stand out, two actresses who play Janice and I think it's Linda. Linda I recognized as Lulu Wilson from Ouija Origin, which she was excellent in that as well. That was a really good prequel movie that was a much better film than its predecessor. So Annabelle Creation, like I said, visually it looks good, the songs are good, the song choices are good, but where this movie starts to falter for me, it's in two areas really: the writing and the story, in the sense that the writing, it doesn't, there's a lot of mistakes to be found in this movie in terms of the way time should be flowing. There's a scene where the group splits up and certain events were going on here with this little girl, the Lulu Wilson, right? There's a certain event going on, she's locked in her room, let's say she's trying to get out, and they cut to the other group and what they're going through, and what they're going through takes a bit of time, and yet when we cut back to Linda, she's still in a position where she shouldn't be. I don't want to give it away too much, but you're like, okay, how come all of this was going on and this is how far she's reached? It's almost like they forgot to continue that scene properly. So issues like that I also kind of felt like these kids made a lot of stupid decisions and a lot of brave decisions, but stupid brave in the sense that, you know, you've seen something terrifying, you experience something terrifying, and it's in that room, and yet you go back into the room. I don't know any child that would do that. I honestly don't. We've all had childhoods, you know, we all remember what it's like to be scared, and there are moments that seem like, okay, a kid would do that. Like, for instance, if you get scared, you jump in your bed and you hide under the covers. Those things made sense. But the idea of a child experiencing something supernatural and terrifying and yet choosing to go back into that room, I was just shaking my head. I was like, there's no way. Unless it's like a friend in there or some reason, I felt like these kids were doing things that were out of character for kids in certain scenes. But overall, Annabelle, I think who will get a kick out of this movie, mainstream horror viewers. If you're a hardcore horror fan, Annabelle is very light in terms of story, in terms of scares. The scares are very much jump scares, right? jump scares don't really do it for you when you're a hardcore horror fan, but I do see mainstream moviegoers and people who enjoy horror on a visual level only will probably get a kick out of the jump scares, and they do an excellent job of continuity and connection to the Conjuring universe. We do get a lot of little nods to other Conjuring films, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. The way they connect to the Annabelle movie that came before, I loved it. Honestly, it made me bring my score up a bit, because while I was watching this movie, even before I saw this movie, I kept asking myself, if this is a story of Annabelle creation, then Annabelle, does everything that happened in Annabelle just never happen? Have they like decided to do like a comic book and just retcon everything? But no, they do tie it in very, very well at the end of the movie, and that alone I was like, oh, okay, that works for me. I love that. And also, I think when this movie is really scary is when it's being subtle. My absolute favorite scary moment in this movie takes place underneath a staircase. That's all I'll say about it. And that scene actually reminded me of a scene, the kitchen scene in The Exorcist. That old horror movie, The Exorcist, a scene with Pazuzu. I'll just leave it at that and say that for me, that was the most terrifying scene in the movie. So I'm going to give Annabelle Creation a 6.5 out of 10. It's going to entertain you. Even if you're a hardcore horror fan, I don't think you'll see this movie and come out saying, oh, that was just shit, that was nonsense, it was no good, it was just as bad as Annabelle. It is better than that film, but it has a lot of problems in terms of the writing. I think I don't see any flaws with the directing. Like I said, I loved the pacing and the look of this film worked for me, but I just felt like the story had way too many holes. It was almost like CinemaSins. I was sitting there and like, yeah, but, you know, so I had a problem with that. So Annabelle Creation will get a 6.5 out of 10. And it's in cinemas now, so what do I know? Go check it out yourself. You might have a blast with it and say like it's the best horror movie for the year. So go see it now in theaters. And until next time, bye bye.